Yo, what's up everyone? My name is Andrew Warren, and in today's video, we're going to be doing our daily transparency update and also just addressing Tesla stock as usual and including a little bit of discussion on that as well. So if you're new here, transparency update just means that I show my gains or my losses with my portfolio for every single day that I can. So with this, I just try to keep it real with my subscribers and viewers and actually show y'all whatever moves my portfolio is making right now, whether it's a huge green day where we make like 20K in one day, or if it's a huge loss day as well where we lose like 30K almost. So either way, I like to have that transparency there and just keep it real with you all. So as always, if you do enjoy the Tesla videos and the transparency updates, please make sure to smash that like button. It really does help me out. But just addressing the portfolio for today, it is currently at a value of $164,006.33, so almost 164K even. And in the normal market hours today, we had a minus 2.02% loss, which is minus $3,369.03. And then in the after hours, we are currently at plus 0.61%, which is plus $997.39. And just keep in mind, it is after 8 p.m. for me right now, which means the aftermarket hours are closed currently, so the market is at a standstill. But as you can see, just with a portfolio and over on the sidebar as well, we did have Tesla stock in the red today, in the negative, at around minus 1.41% overall. That includes both the aftermarket hours and the normal market hours. So I have to admit, if today was going to be a red day, this really isn't that bad of a red day, especially considering if we address the rest of the market, like with NASDAQ, which is at minus 1.08% for the day, and then we even have VOO at minus 0.97% for the day. So both NASDAQ and VOO are in the red. So with VOO, I kind of address that as like the general representation of the stock market. Like if VOO is red, then I just assume like the stock market in general is red. So as you can see, both VOO and NASDAQ, as we know, NASDAQ is a little bit more tech focused, and that's why it's done so well so far over this past year. But just addressing the fact that both of these are in the red, and if you look at the tech stocks on my watch list, we have many of those in the red. Shopify was the only one on my watch list right here that was actually in the green for today. So we have Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Adobe in the red, and just a bunch of these over here as well are in the red. So the majority of the stock market, at least like with comparing NASDAQ and VOO and my watch list, and then some of the other ones on my watch list, the majority of those seem to be in the red today. And so I have to admit, if today is going to be a generally red stock market day, for Tesla to only be down 1.41%, that's really not that bad considering the range that Tesla tends to move on the red days and the green days. So just keep in mind, it's not even abnormal for Tesla to move up 3% in one day or move down 3% in one day. So that's something that we commonly tend to see as well. If the stock market is generally red, if it's a red day in the stock market, sometimes we'll see Tesla lose a lot more on the share price than many of the other ones that are in the red for today. So like for example, sometimes if we see VOO in the red at minus 1%, we may see Tesla at minus 3% or something near there. So as I said, Tesla tends to be the one that drops a little bit more on the general red days in the stock market. However, with today, at least it seems like we got pretty lucky where it didn't drop that much. It wasn't like 2 to 3%. So a minus 1.41% day for Tesla is about almost as good as it gets for a red day for Tesla, because like I said, when there is a red day for the stock, it tends to move a little bit more drastically in terms of like a bigger red day than a lot of your other typical stocks in the market. And that's just how it is with Tesla. It's a very volatile stock. It tends to move in significant ways in either direction. So that's just how it is with Tesla. And as I've emphasized in many videos, to hold this stock and to hold it long term, you really have to have a long term vision, and you have to have some mental fortitude to be able to get through all of that nonsense in the meantime. Because if you can just maintain until your long term vision is accomplished, until like let's say you've held it for 10 years or for 20 years or for 30 years or whenever you're ready to retire, then if you can just hold it for that long, then you've accomplished your goal. So basically the hard part with Tesla is holding it in the meantime. And it's not really hard for me because I understand how this works, and it's pretty easy for me to have that mental fortitude and separate my emotions from the market. But I can understand how it may be a little bit more difficult for some other people that want to own this stock, but it kind of stresses them out to hold hold it with it moving so drastically up and down every day. So that's just another thing I like to note. Tesla is the one that tends to move into the red a little bit more on the generally red days in the stock market. But like with today, we really haven't seen a huge drop day for Tesla. So if it's going to be a drop day, then I would much rather prefer a day like this than one that's at minus 3%. And plus, if you're looking for a discount up before the earnings report, then this is actually a pretty solid day to buy. And speaking of buying, I bought some today as well, a fractional share. We'll cover that in just a second, but just to address the time frames for the portfolio so far and how long I've been investing, I've still been investing for under a year. So if you're new here, I started investing on December 2nd in 2019, so around 10 or 11 months. So for the past week, the portfolio is at minus 2.24%, which is minus $3,758.71. For the past month, we are at minus 2.81%, which is minus $4,748.98. Then for the past 3 months, we are currently up 27.26%, which is plus $35,128.86. And then for the past year, we are currently up 75.11%, which is plus $70,348.93. And then the same thing applies for the all-time chart as well, because as I said, I've been investing for under a year. So this is what the portfolio looks like so far, around a 75% gain, and that's around $70,000 in gains. And so as I've stated in previous videos, just the money I've earned in under a year alone is really life-changing money for me. Like, just to think at least this point in time, obviously it could always go down in the future and stuff like that, but to just know that I have this extra $70,000 pillow, worst case scenario, that's pretty nice as well. And that's one of the major reasons why I personally chose not to have a big $30,000 emergency fund in my bank account with a really small interest rate, because I feel like, and I've addressed this on the channel in the past, but I feel like in my personal situation, obviously nothing that I say in this video or have said already is to be considered financial advice. I'm just applying to what works for me personally in my life. But with my mindset and my perspective, I would much rather have $30,000 with some potentially high interest rates inside the stock market rather than a $30,000 bank account getting 1% interest every year. So this is one of those examples where I have all of my net worth basically in the stock market. I understand that's a little bit risky, but with risk comes some high rewards sometimes, as long as you've done your research and you understand the basics of investing. So I feel like this will play out well for me, but basically my logic is for me to not have an emergency fund in my bank account and to simply just use the money that would be used for an emergency fund and invest that in the stock market. So that's what I'm doing, and that is one of the major reasons why I've been able to gain $70,000 in 1 year. So just to imagine that I took $30,000 out of my initial investment this year and didn't actually have that to invest and only made 1% compared to 75%, that's a huge difference. We're talking about a 74% addition to just this year's movements alone with my stock investment. So that shows how much of a game changer, at least in my position, for my decision to actually use the money that would have been used for an emergency fund, and I actually put that into the stock market, which as you can see paid off pretty well for me. So this is one of those prime examples of me utilizing this logic, and this is something that I've learned over time as well. I have to admit, I've never really had an emergency fund, but just in terms of like the basics of finance, that's something that you commonly hear recommended by a lot of finance people. So in terms of the basic rules, I guess I kind of went against the grain, but I just kind of involved my perspective in all of that, and I realized basically if I'm willing to take a risk, there's a high reward here. And I also addressed the fact that I likely wouldn't need an emergency fund anyways. So worst case scenario, I just sell some of my stocks, and obviously that could be at a time where the stock market has crashed and maybe I'll have to take a loss, or maybe I'll have to take a little bit less profit than it was at previously, but that's a risk I'm willing to take, because that has to be a scenario where, of course, the rare occasion in which I would need to use money from an emergency fund, and also for that to be the worst possible scenario, it would also ironically have to be in a time period where the stock market has crashed as well. So for the worst case scenario to happen for that situation, it would be pretty rare for that to occur. And like I said, there's still that rare situation in general where I would actually need to use my emergency fund. So that's basically where I just compared the opportunities and compared the possibilities of those outcomes, and just simply decided that in the long long term, for me especially, it would just simply be better for me to use that money for my investments rather than just simply getting a measly 1% interest rate every single year based on that emergency fund in my bank account. So I just wanted to address that as well, because as I said in these videos before, sometimes we don't have a lot of substance to talk about with these portfolio updates. So I always like to include some general pieces of knowledge and insight that I've gained personally from the stock market. Maybe that can spice up these portfolio updates a little bit with just dropping some nuggets of information here and there. But I feel like that is pretty valuable, especially if someone has a mindset like myself and they kind of view it the same way, where it's basically a possible 1% interest rate, and that's not even conservative at this point in time. Like, that's being pretty optimistic and generous. 1% at this point in time for interest rate, that's pretty generous. But basically, there's probably a lot of other people out there like myself that are choosing to do the same thing. But basically, I just wanted to share some of my perspective on that, because I feel like in terms of opportunity versus risk, I feel like there's a much bigger opportunity than there is risk. And like I said, with me having no debt currently, and also just how I watch my finances, I feel like there wouldn't be a situation where I would need to pull out money from an emergency fund. And even if that situation does happen, like I said, I can always take it out of my stocks. But my main goal is to never have to touch my stocks. I don't want to have to sell any of my Tesla stock, because I think investing in Tesla right now is like investing in Apple or Amazon way earlier in its time. So I think this is a huge opportunity and I don't want to miss out on it. And so given that, I'm also trying to make sure that I have my finances covered and that I don't have to use any of this stock or sell any of this stock, because I just think it would be a huge missed opportunity for me to sell Tesla stock anytime soon. So I'm trying to avoid that at all costs. But basically, as I stated, I did buy a little bit of Tesla stock today. I'll be covering this in a separate video as well. But as you can see, I spent around $335 on 0.753315 shares today at a share price of $444.65. And then also, as you can see, for today's return, we are currently at minus 1.42%, which is minus $2,371.59. And then for the total return, we are currently at plus 45.73%, or plus $51,781.19. So that's basically the rundown of the portfolio for today. Just wanted to have that transparency there as always and show you all what the portfolio is looking like, what the losses are looking like. And even though we lost a few $1,000, as I've stated in previous videos, my main focus is just on the percentage movement. I understand that as the portfolio starts to get larger, I'm going to be gaining more and losing more with every movement every day. So I'm just focused on the percentages, because that kind of applies across the board regardless of how huge the portfolio gets. But anyways, please make sure to smash that like button if you enjoyed the video, and also feel free to check out Robinhood and Webull in the description below. If you sign up with my referral link, you'll get some free stocks, and especially with Webull right now, you can get 2 free stocks valued up to $1,600. And to get that, all you have to do is sign up with my referral link and deposit $100 into your account. And keep in mind, you can take that $100 right back out after you get your free stocks. So it's basically just nice passive income with minimal effort, and it also helps support the channel as well, which I'll get some free stocks. But I just want to let y'all know about that. But I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week.